2nd, 2025. Man, Brendan Martin down in Marion County, Florida. Brendan, what a weekend. There are no easy days. Rich Thompson talked about it with us last week. NCAA baseball tournament, you get all these different styles of play, and then all of a sudden you put 4 teams together, and it doesn't work out like we wanted it to. So we will cover a lot.
Welcome to the SEC.
Yeah, exactly. Just that's what we deal with every
sport. Every
sport. I mean, and it exactly right. And so now you've still got plenty of teams alive. Ole Miss plays for do or die today, but Coach Ellis Johnson is here to make all things in the world right. He will balance everything and get us canoeing in the right direction. Roman Harper, SEC Network, joins us about 15 after. We're going to talk some, football, baseball, going to touch on all 16 of the SEC teams. Take a picture with your phone of the QR code. We broadcast live on X, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, 7 channels. And if you can't catch us live, catch us later. A lot of people watch us on the exercise bike or on the commute or whatever. But look, hey, kind of cool when you type in comments during the show. Tell us where you're from, unless you're in the witness protection program or something. But let us know.
Definitely tell us where you're from.
Yeah, that's right. Let us know.
Let us know. It's a good story.
You're correct.
Yes.
But Brendan, big stuff going on, man. And I mean, look, what is it? 6 weeks from today, Brendan, we will be in Atlanta at the Omni here in Commissioner Sankey. Give the State of the SEC address, and hopefully that includes another World Series championship. Coach Johnson, how you doing this morning?
Well, let's bring him in. Here.
Okay,
Here's Tom Cruise. Sorry, Tom.
Tom Cruise. Take 3, action. Go, Tom. We're filming.
Tom, you're really great in the new movie, by the way.
That's right.
Mission Impossible. You did a great job.
Y'all still going to be fired. I have not had one casting call since I got on this show.
Well,
that's the problem. You didn't stop getting on the show. That's why they didn't get you on.
When they were filming the movie The Firm in Memphis, it was filmed about a mile from us in Memphis, and my mother was driving, and she saw this car. She didn't notice at first it was being pulled on a flatbed, and this guy was in this convertible talking, and she goes, "Oh, it's Tom Cruise." It was the movie people taking him down Walnut Grove, and they filmed The Firm. That really was a good movie. John Grisham, man, what a rags to riches story that is. But, Coach, talking about the competition, this baseball tournament, you live in South Carolina. That's a big baseball state, and so's Mississippi, so's Florida, and Coastal Carolina. They got her done. Clemson, that was awful. And you talk about competition in football. When you've coached an SEC team, and by the way, there's all kinds of stuff out all over Twitter about that 92 Alabama defense that you were a part of. Chris Donnelly from Germantown, you remember Chris?
Oh, yeah.
Used to see his dad every week at the Touchdown in the Quarterback Club. And you had guys like Chad Key, who was an absolute beast. James Gregory out of St. Louis. That was an incredible defense. This is the time of year when we really turn inward and start studying a lot and about great teams. But you know what I'm starting to sense? I'm just sensing every day as we get closer to media days, there's less talk about the portal and NIL, and the better programs are learning how to keep the players they really want to keep. Don't you think that's a step in the right direction?
Yeah, no question about it. And we hit the media days, as Coach Spurrier used to call it, talking season. But
yep.
The good thing about talking season is, the real season is right behind it. But I think we're in double digits now to the first football game, under 100. And so it's getting closer.
I think it's 89.
Yeah.
89 days away. No, wait a minute. 87. 87 days
I'm
away.
looking forward to hearing Rome. And I'm not as in tune to all these rosters as I used to be, obviously.
It's impossible.
So I'm looking forward to hearing some things. I know Roman will be on top of it.
Yeah, and Brendan, I'm serious about this. The crawl that you see, which really came about after 9/11 more than ever, you almost, it would be a benefit when you're talking about a school to have the roster, being trailing underneath. But I think, Coach, the Athlons magazine is out now. I went to Barnes and Noble last week. I couldn't find it, but Brendan showed it. You can order it now. There's something about having a magazine in your hands that you can highlight and underline and stuff like that. We're trying to teach people today on laptops. I don't think that's the best way. I don't think you learn. What was your best method at breaking down tape on an opponent? The chalkboard, video, telestrator. What was it?
Well, I'm my age. I mean, I'm a little different. It was all paper and pencil. I broke down film as a coordinator. I did it the way Bill Oliver did it, and then maybe tweaked it a little bit. I literally sketched. I literally sketched every play of every game.
Yeah.
And I always watched games in sequence. I didn't watch cut-ups. If you know what cut-ups or filters are, you can get a ball game broken down into every category you want. You can get all the red zone, all the third down long, all the bootlegs, all the whatevers. I think when you study that as a coordinator, you don't know what's going on as far as calling the game.
Yeah.
But to your question, the technology changed so much from the time I started to the time I finished. And I can't imagine what they've got access to now. I didn't adapt very well to it. The better the film got, that was, of course, a big help.
Yeah.
But people were always coming in with different things that you could telestrate, and you could do all kind of things to freeze a film and highlight this and highlight that. And I'm sure it was a great teaching tool for these kids now. That's the way they grow up.
Yeah.
Hell, I had a heart surgeon tell me the other day that these kids coming through surgery school now are so much better with the mechanical surgeries. Hardly any surgeries are hands-on anymore. It's all robotic.
No, it's robotics and it's AI. So
Yeah.
AI is going to come in, and we're seeing that change now. We had Coach Butch Johnson the other day talking about how they use AI in baseball now. They are incorporating that with cameras, where they do like a 360 camera where they'll have a camera, and then they just break down the angle, and then they see which angle is the best. And then they'll remember who's right-handed, who's left-handed, what guy, and the AI will just do all this, this numbers grinding thing for you right there. We already had the Analyst, the last several years now as coaches, right? Now we're just seeing AI is that next step, and that is going to be really changing the game. But what changes the game of it is AI can now teach people on a very specific level. So if I'm dyslexic, right? So it can design a teaching course for me specifically designed for someone who's dyslexic, right?
Yeah.
So now they're seeing this in schools, and they're seeing kids now are like within a week of using this sort of AI teaching program, they're upping their IQs by 9 and 10 points in a month. So now you've got translate that to the athlete, right?
Yeah.
Now the athlete has a way to learn the playbook in a way that the athlete can remember the playbook, right? So now the athletes, these guys are going to come in smarter, faster, stronger, because AI is also training them to be better. We saw last year at SEC Media Days, ESPN said that the athletes are in the next 10 years because of AI will be, Rob, was it 30% better in 10 years because of AI and training and understanding of your own body.
Yep.
That's amazing. So just think what their minds are doing.
Yeah.
Well, even 20, 30 years ago, we figured out as coaches, kids were visual.
Yeah.
You could put all the stuff you wanted on the board and have them writing it down. It wasn't really a good teaching thing. They learned from film study and walk through on the grass.
Right.
And that's how we coach, because that's the way they took it in. They weren't dumb. A lot of them didn't read well because they'd never learned to read.
Right.
But they were visual. And I mean, that's the way you had to coach it, and that's the way you had to teach it.
Well, and what Brendan talked about, that AI panel at SEC Media Days in Dallas last year, and Brendan, I will say a lot of geniuses have learning disabilities, dyslexia. My wife is trained in Orton Gillingham, and it's amazing how smart the people that are. But if you don't recognize that, you can't learn how to teach them and coach them, and that's what's so important because Audrey spends hours teaching kids 5 and under where she works with any kind of developmental issues, and a lot of time it's because they've just been pushed over to the side, and you open up their eyes. And I'm gonna tell you, with coaching, I was listening to a podcast in the interim and a delay on the Auburn Network with Pat Dye talking about what Coach Bryant did. Is he knew everybody was different when you coach players. They're not all the same. Some players are motivated by taking away playing time. Some are motivated by, okay, you're going to run 100 stadiums with the sandbags, up and down. There's different things. And when you learn that it's not all about X's and O's, but it's about knowing how to get through to them, that as a coach, look at the players that you've coached. That's why I asked you about that 92 Alabama team. That defense was so good that the offense, maybe it didn't have to be great. I mean, Jay Barker won 36 games in 3 years. But AI, that panel we had at SEC Media Days, Coach, there were people from Dr. Reed is the assistant provost at the University of Florida. I think he chaired it. Man, this guy is way out. You don't have to go far out, too far out to realize he's brilliant. But it's getting into the play calling and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you just hit on it. You got to do it physically to really learn it, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's the kids do. I mean, there's no question. I grew up in a generation where you still had to read.
Yeah.
And so, people my age could read something or take a diagram or take some drawings, or we used to have playbooks. I mean, books you open pages and, they'd say, turn back to the blitz section. I mean, we just quit doing all that. I'd tell the grad assistant, pull up the blitzes from last year, pull them all up and run down to number 10. Now, I didn't do that. I told the grad assistant.
Yeah.
But yeah, as the technology changed for us, it made our jobs easier. But some of it got on a level that I couldn't access it, use it, and present it to the players in an efficient time manner.
Yeah.
And so I would either get a young guy sitting there doing it for me, or I would just not use it, But to think back to what we used when I first started coaching, which was 16 millimeter film.
Yeah.
Then we got into VHS. Then they got into what they call beta.
Yes.
And all of it was starting to enable running back and forth and having multiple copies and all that. And as much as the football part, the recruiting is what has benefited from it. Just like I'm sitting here talking to y'all, I could be sitting here looking at 350 players across the country on this little screen right here. And when I started coaching, you had to physically go and watch the kid or get the film. Well, how are you going to get the film when the coach doesn't have but one copy at a small school, maybe 2 copies at a big school? And even if he had 2 copies, Ole Miss had gone in before you, and they took the damn film and didn't bring it back for 4 weeks on purpose because they didn't want you to see the kid. But it's just amazing if I think about during that 50-year span, what all changed.
Well, now, Coach, it's a really interesting number you use there, because they use that same number now in describing what's going to happen with AI in the next 5 years.
I can only imagine.
So AI gets smarter every 7 months. Okay. AI's intelligence doubles every 7 months, 3 to 7 months now. So we are steps away from generative AI, which is basically saying that this entity or whatever we created is smarter than the sum of all humans combined, right? They're smarter than everybody. That's months away, right? So that's, and that, people say that could be the end of the world, blah, 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 whatever. We always hear that stuff, right? But if, as a coach, I was keeping notes on this and I just pulled it up. As a coach, imagine, having things like UF and Sport Collaborative Initiatives launched a $2.5 million investment between UF Engineering College and the Athletic Association, exploring AI-driven wearables to maximize performance and reduce injuries. Graduate students Molly Brewer and Kevin Childs presented findings in this conference, highlighting how coaches use the sensor data to shape training and strategy and real-time biometric readouts, including facial expression.
Body
They
language.
They can tell by facial expression, like where they are emotionally. It's emotional monitoring. AI tools driven biometric data, the heart rate and variability, and facial expressions to gauge athletes' emotional states, helping coaches manage stress and prevent burnout. A 2024 study noted AI achieving 69% accuracy in reading emotions, supporting its use in college settings.
Well,
Just think
okay,
if you
that's
could,
incredible.
give that to your girlfriend and you could maybe do a better job.
Well, your girlfriend's going to be AI.
Well, you can stay the hell away from
That's
her
the
when she
problem.
wasn't in a good AI.
That's right. Well, yeah, and I'll tell you one thing, Roman will be on here in just a minute.
Roman's in right now. We're
Okay,
going to pop him in right now.
We will bring in the future mayor of Prattville, Alabama, Roman Harper, and Coach. What I love about Roman is when you watch him and Cole Kubelik on their show, Read and React on Mondays, they really get into it, but they take what seems like it's complex and they break it down in layman's terms, and you go, okay, I understand that. But Roman, welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us this morning. Got Coach Ellis Johnson, who did a couple of tours at Alabama, and so we're talk about what AI is being used in football now, and coaching and preparing and all, and it's just amazing. And I know when you break down tape, a lot of people still call it film. You see things, and Coach Johnson sees things that the average person doesn't. But again, welcome aboard from Charlotte, North Carolina, the Queen City.
Appreciate it so much, Coach Johnson. Nice seeing you again. Coach Johnson was the first coach from Alabama to actually recruit me. So before he and that crew got let go with Dubose. So, but he did a great job of recruiting me and actually telling me like, hey, even though we're leaving, like somebody's still going to come in, and hopefully you like that staff too. So appreciate you, Coach.
Wow.
And very small world.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to see how AI will be able to. I think the word to use really streamline a lot of the film and some of the things that you're getting. Because really, when we watch film, a lot of times we look at probability. So what are we seeing from this formation with this motion? Every time the offense breaks a huddle, they're telling you a story. You just got to learn how to read the book. So being able to streamline that and say, okay, well, you can go back for 8 years instead of me trying to do it. You can put it in the computer and, hey, what do they do with these formations, this, and this? Then you can kind of put them all in buckets on what they're doing on, 2 to 6 versus 8 to 10, 8 to 11. I think for me, that is still a real easy way to kind of streamline things, but you still got to see it with your own eyes. And, and then at that point, can I still have the players understand what they're seeing too, not just being able to spit out words, but being able to recognize formations. And because you don't have that with you when you're playing the game. Ultimately, all you got are your two eyes and the brain. So you got to have those things all connected. Not really, the mouth is good too, but it's really all about what you see and then how you read and diagnose.
I love this guy. Coach, jump in here. That is a cool story because Roman, being from Prattville, people don't think about a transition when a coaching staff leaves. Because Roman, I have a friend I worked with at Duncan Williams for 12 years, Jay Stubbs. His father, Charlie was one of your coaches at Alabama, 97 to 2000. And Jay was a walk-on wide receiver. But man, and his best friend to this day is Tyler Watts from Pelham, Alabama. But man, every time you come on here, there's new stuff. Same thing with you, Coach. But jump in here and read and react to what Roman just said, because I want to get y'all's two brains going together.
What he was talking about, and I bet it's like putting on a pair of gloves. He's talking about what I was referring to a while ago as filters. And as a coordinator calling a game, I watched games in sequence, but then I had different members of the staff watching these cut-ups and filters like Roman's talking about, breaking these things down by formations, by down and distance, by field zone. And we would have it all, if somebody came on something that was extremely a tendency that was so obvious, then we made sure, we were aware of it going into the game. but he probably is studying film for his job now. Not totally unlike when he would study film, getting ready to play a football game, trying to figure out what these guys' strengths and weaknesses are and so forth, analyze their players and who's the go-to guys and all that. It's not totally different, I'm sure. Another thing, two of your coaches, Roman, Melvin Smith, who had you at first 2 years, is real. And then Charlie Harbison came in your last 2 years, but he coached receivers.
Coach Cheese.
And Charlie was the best man in my wedding, and my youngest son's named after him. But they were always talking about you and everything. So I told them, I said, I knew him before y'all did. Yeah, I didn't know you very well.
He did. It was funny, though. It's just a small world. You know, Coach Cheese saw me at an Alabama football camp going into my senior year. I'd never even been to Tuscaloosa. And I was there at a football camp. He liked what I was doing at the camp, got my name. Then Coach Johnson started recruiting me. And then they got let go. Then Coach Melvin Smith, who I just played golf with him last year when I was in College Station. Love Coach Smith. And then Coach Cheese, of course, Charlie Harbison, but everybody calls him Coach Cheese. That's what everybody calls him. So, I Coach Cheese saw me, and then when he got to actually come back on campus, but he was actually working with receivers, just totally different. But he was so good just because he knew exactly what DBs were always trying to take away. More than what Coach Ellis was talking about, I look at when I'm watching tape, like I always go into it and say, okay, if I'm a coordinator, what am I thinking, right? When are my antennas going up on this? And that's just how I was taught how to watch film. So that's how my brain works now. So whenever I'm, it's 3rd and 2 to 3, you're going to get man-to-man coverage. But so what do teams like to do versus man-to-man coverage to beat it? Whether they run the football or they're picking up and throwing it, which nowadays most teams pick the ball up. And then what are you going to get from like 5 to 7, 5 to 8? Like you just put them in buckets, and then all of a sudden, or filters is what Coach Ellis is using. And so it's just like-minded people just use different terms. But these are what I was able to always kind of refer to. And then when I get to these situations, how am I seeing it? If it's 2 running back, if it's eye near versus eye far, or shotgun, weak versus far, those things tell you something. So every single time. And, max formation looks when you got the running back to the tight end side with trips away, all these little things right here really just help your team to play faster. And I know a lot of times in college, we don't have time. Everybody just wants to coach and implement so many defenses and so many different schemes where the players just learn plays nowadays. They don't really get to learn the game. They're actually learning like, okay, what are you seeing? So when you see this, what is it? What should it tell you? A lot of times that happens once you get into the NFL because you have more time to actually teach the players a little bit more. Because I don't – in the NFL, they're not teaching guys how to play football. They're teaching you how to think the game and how to really play football at that point. Where in college, it's a lot of times I'm just trying to get guys to actually run plays to where I can sometimes as coaches, which I hate, is coaches like to show you how smart they are. And trying to out-scheme you and out-trick you.
Roman, and Coach, we had Butch Johnson on as a guest from Auburn skipper, and he was talking just about all the things you're talking about, and the development of AI and research analysis and people and all these different types of coaches. Now we have different types of coaches. He had an interesting take, and I would like to hear what your take and Coach's take on it, which is, how does this having these tools has opened up the opportunity for him to do less and do more coaching, old school coaching, because now he can drill into that. Is that right, Rob?
Yeah. And he said one of the things, Roman, Butch Thompson, Auburn's baseball coach, and hopefully he'll be back on with us Wednesday. He said he's letting the players, the pitchers, run their own show now. And they've got like 25 students from the Auburn College of Engineering, the Samuel Ginn College of Engineering, coming over there working with them now. It's crazy, Roman, and your take, and then Coach, brilliant to bring that up, Brendan. Thank you.
For me, and I don't want to say it's dumbing it down, but it makes it more accessible for those that don't actually play the game.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It allows for others that have never played the game not to say they have a little footprint in it or that they can affect it in a certain way, because it's just being brought down to computers terms, which is now considered
Right.
layman's terms. If I sit up here and talk about 3/2, hook this, that, and the other, this drop, that starts to get crazy. People don't understand that. But if I can bring it down into just computer terms and speaking to numbers and percentages, the more and more average person can pick that up. So I like that it allows for people that are outside of normal football print to now actually have access to it. I think that's a good thing. But if I still am wary of how you actually coaching the players where their eyes need to be at, because those things don't change. And so we can add all the information we want into it and try and streamline this and play the percentages of that. Yeah, that all sounds good and dandy, but it still comes down to what are you doing on the field when the ball snapped. When it comes down to it, fourth quarter, third down, what are you doing? And how are you reacting? And so the only thing you can come down to are your tools and the things that I've taught you throughout practice, throughout all the weeks, and your technique. That's all it can come down to at the end of the day. And that part right there really comes down to the coaching and the X's and O's.
Yeah, I think you guys have heard that word eyes about 30 times now. And it is so critical now. I think it's obviously critical for any player, but defensively, Mike Dubose
Yes.
used to always say, sight, reaction, contact. That's all defense is. Sight, reaction, contact. And, he'd say sometimes we coach the heck out of reaction and contact, all our little drills and our fundamentals and everything. We're always fussing about guys not tackling aggressively or not bringing your feet or all the little technicalities. We didn't coach the eyes consciously. You got to coach their eyes every play. And it's just something. And I'd say, hell, I've been teaching people read keys for 20 years, Mike. He said, but not emphasizing it enough. Coach their eyes every play. Ask them what they're looking at right before the ball snap. You'll be surprised how many of them are not looking at the right things or not getting the right thing off of what they're looking at. And
is it more? Is it more by position too, Coach? I mean, I know defensively, I played DB, right? So it's like eyes, watching quarterback, looking at eyes, squatting on 10.
Yeah, but
is it or is it? It's not. It's just that's just a standardized way of doing it.
Well, I put you up there 3 technique on the outside shoulder of the guard. Yeah. You better see the guard and the ball and the offensive tackle, and you better see them. Unless you're running a blitz and you know your first step, you better see what they do. Or you're gonna get your butt blocked.
Crack black coming back on it.
Whatever. And every position starts with sight. I don't care if you're up front or all the way out to the back. Inspect linebackers. Oh my gosh. They got to look at all kind of things to make calls and stuff, not to mention what they better be looking at when the ball moves. But everything on defense starts with sight.
Roman,
yeah. I agree. I agree with Coach Ellis so much. Not only just sight, but also the transition of your eyes throughout the play. So when you see this, what is it telling you? So now I'm connecting the eyes with the brain. Now my feet and my body will naturally do right because I'm an athlete. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't a good enough athlete to be here. So when my eyes are telling me, so if 2 goes out, what is it telling me? Right? Well, it all starts earlier than that, the formation recognition. So now I can start to eliminate some things of what they don't like to do in these situations. And so that's where it starts at. That's the brain. And then all of a sudden you see it with your eyes. Then after that, where are your keys at the snap of the ball? And then when you're looking at your keys, what is it telling you? That's what coach is talking about. These are little coaching things. And what I see when I'm watching film that I'm like, oh, and it gives it away. And Coach Ellis can tell you this too. He's a linebackers coach forever. It's like wherever their head stripe is on top of their helmet, that's what's telling you where their eyes are at. They looking in the wrong place. It's like, okay, when you see a lot, you see a little on defense. And I think it's so important on defense to make sure the eyes
and even like, just hearing you talk, I'm thinking I'm hearing my old coach in my head going, hey, stare at the bread box, don't stare at their eyes when you're tackling, stare at their gut, but they, when they're trying to make a move in open field, that's how you bring a guy down. You gotta use your eyes.
Well, and what y'all are talking about, I'd like to get into some of the players that we're seeing in the SEC now for both of y'all. And I'll start with Roman, just some of the better defensive backs, because, we're seeing like in some cases, a 3-2-6 defense. When you get, I think people tried that against Joe Burrow in 2019 at LSU. But if you could, Roman, talk about, if you go back to, 40 years ago, Tracy Rocker at Auburn, a 4-year starter, a rarity, and a red shirt at that. His career stats were 354 tackles, 45 tackles for loss, 21 sacks as a defensive tackle. Now, if a guy were to stay 4 years as a defensive tackle, he might have 130, maybe 140 tackles. What's the biggest difference in the game, Roman, that you see, and then you coach, and our own version of Read and React, which, by the way, will be back on this year, won't it, Roman?
I
It better
assume
be.
It
so.
better be.
It's the best show I'll be.
I'll
I
be
love
really,
it.
really pissed.
You and Cole, because Cole will be in Memphis in a week or so, and then you'll be here in 2 weeks from today to speak to the Touchdown Club. But that's where you learn about football. But I digress back to the man in the Queen City.
I think the biggest thing truly is offenses put out so many different formations now. And so defensively, I think you try to sometimes do less to try and be able to just defend everything. Also the rotations and what you're talking about, as many reps and things like that. Like everybody rotates D linemen now, where back in the day, like you just had some dogs and they just played. Now everybody rotates. Well, a lot of the rotation starts because they got to make sure they keep young guys happy, satisfied. So now they're not leaving as well because of the transfer portal. That's an issue as well. And then they also, the believing in staying fresh and having multiple guys being ready to go. It's very interesting. As more as football seems to change, I think the fundamentals still will be the fundamentals. It's going to be a team that can actually win the line of scrimmage. You still got to out-hit teams. And it's still an emotional game played by emotional people. It's never perfect. You're always striking for it, but it's never a perfect game either. And it usually comes down to about 5 plays a game that can either blow it out for you or keep it close. And the team that wins the majority of those 5 plays is what it is. Like, we can try and make it all crazy and this, that, and the other. I think the biggest difference for me, honestly, is that just the run game out of more spread formations now, teams do that a lot more. Other than that, and of course, covering college, the offensive lineman, getting the 2 yards down the line, 2 yards past the line of scrimmage is a real cheat code. But other than that, though, there really is no difference. I mean, the game continues to evolve because the players are getting bigger, faster, stronger. But that's just normal in every single game, in every sport.
Yeah, Coach. Yeah.
Well, I think the point he's making, a lot of things will change from tactical, formations and throwing the football more, et cetera. But the fundamentals don't change, and the things that get you beat usually don't change. And we keep talking about, all the evolving of football, and it is, and especially as a defensive coordinator, you're talking about having to adjust. But you can't quit coaching the things we've been talking about for the previous 15 minutes. One thing in my career I look back on, it's easy to have seen it. Roman mentioned earlier about coaches try to do too much. They think they're smart. When your football team doesn't play well, whether it's in the middle of a game, you're trying to make an adjustment, or you come in after a big loss, you want to try to help the players. And first thing you do is put in a new system or a new scheme or a new blitz. That's not, before long, you got a book in there, you can't call it all. And one thing I learned as my later years, and I think I did a better job as a coordinator, I've coached on some staffs, and we'd beat the hell out of people on Wednesday night and Thursday night. We had the greatest game plan. We had every play covered. We had all that. You got to have kids that can handle it in the middle of the third quarter when the bullets start flying and things start speeding up. If you've complicated it, you've hurt your players. You hadn't helped them. So I think I got a little bit simpler over the years, and it was 2 things. I think you help the player play faster when you can make it. Brad Lawing, my defensive line coach at Carolina, one of the best I've ever been around. He always said, Eli, if you can tell me always or never, I'll be a better coach for you. And he kept saying this for about 4 weeks. I said, Brad, what the hell are you talking about? He said, if you can tell me always or never, and I can tell my player always or never, we'll make him a better player. What he was trying to say was, if you thin it down and simplify it, and we can teach it well enough, then this is always going to happen, or this is never going to happen. And they can eliminate all those things. They'll be better players and they'll play faster. And it's just something, if you remember that in teaching things, it's a simple little saying, but it's true. And you can't, you can win all the games on Wednesday night and Thursday night, or you can put in a new system on Thursday morning. You put in a new blitz you thought of when you were home asleep. That's not the way to help players.
I love what Coach Ellis is saying, because as a player, I just wanted to play fast. So if I could eliminate trees off any limb, it just helped me out. I just wanted to play fast. And so what Coach is saying is like, look, anytime this tight end blocks down, you always get the blitz here. Like, that helps me. I'm actually looking forward to it. It makes me play faster. And so I talked to Clark Lee multiple times last year, even on our show, Read and React. Cole and I did. And I talked to him about him taking over the defensive coordinating responsibilities last year, the play calling within the game. And they just went way more simpler. It wasn't very exotic. And it was like, Roman, I learned that as the season was progressing, that when things started to get hot and heavy, sometimes I don't need to all of a sudden, as the coordinator, try and they get 3 first downs in a drive. Oh, I'm going to blitz them now. He's like, sometimes you just got to just wait it out. And offenses will make a mistake way more often sometimes if you just wait them out, because offensive coordinators, they don't want that check down. They want it. They want the deep throw. They want the explosive play. Like, that is what offenses are trying to do. So if you can out-patient them, because they're not extremely patient, a lot of times that's winning football. And understanding who your team is, and what, like Coach is saying, is like, when the third and fourth quarter comes, can they execute it? Because it comes down to execution at the end of the day. And if we can out-execute them, we're gonna have chances to win the game. We just got to make our plays when our number's called, which is catching the football, overpopulating the football, getting the ball out, and being able to recover it when it gets on the ground. Like, those are the little things that we talk about. And, if we got a chance to hit the quarterback, we got to get the ball out sometimes. Like, these are the plays that really change and win games for you. It's not even so much, and it's exactly what Coach is talking about. It's not so much about the play call. It's going to come down to the execution, and did we do it the right way at full speed as well, and playing fast and allowing your players to not think, but really just go cut it loose. Mm-hmm. Those are my best defensive years. That's what I wanted to do defensively. And to hear it from Coach, I thought I knew it, but now I really know it. Like, that's really what it comes down to.
And you hear the term that the game slows down once you've been there and acclimated to the college game from high school, and then, pin your ears back and just go after the quarterback. I remember a player, an SEC linebacker, and SID told me this. He said, we would, on his tape, on his hands, just write the number, to simplify it, of the quarterback. He said, just go get that guy. And don't let him breathe. Don't let him get out of your sight. And you simplify it down to that. But the smartest thing both of y'all have said is what happens in real time. All that Wednesday night, Thursday night stuff goes out the window. It's, you just got sucker punched at 3 a.m. at the bar. How are you going to react? And sometimes people, you can see it. And whoever said it about the body language, that's what my wife picks up on. She picks up on body language. When Jeremy Pruitt was at Tennessee, he's the king of it. But I also think he's one hell of a defensive coordinator. But I want both of y'all to talk about the SEC this year going into the season. We're 6 weeks from media days. Give me some of the top teams that y'all think right now are going to be positioned to do really, really well, and maybe why some of the defenses are going to be better.
I'd have to lean on Roman on this one, because I'm sure he knows these rosters pretty well by now, and I don't.
Coach, first of all, it's hard to know any roster well because they all move around. So
get the ticker tape.
I don't even waste my offseason trying to learn the roster.
Yeah.
I don't. Like, my first 2 years, I was like, oh, I'm trying to study this. And now I'm like, dude, I'm not. I'll pick it up when I get here. I don't
Yeah.
even care.
Yeah.
I go on what I anticipate. So I anticipate Texas being good again. I think they lose some really good guys up front defensively, but that'll be interesting to see how they replace those, knowing that they still got some really good secondary pieces in line. And they got the best middle linebacker in college football. He's been that way since he stepped on campus a couple years ago. And they still got a kid named Simmons up front that's a top 15 pick whenever he's eligible to come out. He was a true freshman last year. He's going to be another one of those guys. I like Alabama as well. I actually got Alabama and Texas in the SEC championship game. I think Alabama's a team that's going to be on. I just think they're naturally going to be better this year. I think second year under DeBoer, I think Grubb offensively, I think they naturally will be a little bit better. They got to find ways to run the football effectively with the running back. That you at some point you got to establish the run, and you got to be the more physical team up front. You can't just trick them and just win by getting guys to go the wrong way all the time. At some point, you got to knock guys off the line of scrimmage, and you're too big and recruit too much talent up front to not to be able to do that consistently. And that's what they really struggled with last year.
Yeah.
After that point, I got LSU's big question mark for me. LSU has to win game one versus Clemson. They win game one versus Clemson, LSU has a chance to be a playoff team and an SEC champion. But they got to start off by winning against Clemson first. The talent is there. They also have to find a way defensively with Blake Baker. How are you going to get your best players to be most effectively while on the field together? You have a kid named Harold Perkins who tore his ACL, is coming off an ACL tear, but he set the world on fire as a true freshman. And he's only gone downhill since. You got to figure that out. Last year, you lose Harold Perkins. Your second best player steps up. Whit Weeks comes in and sets the world on fire again, but he breaks his leg in the bowl game. How do I get two guys that play the same position to be effective on the field at the same time? Coach Ellis, that's up to you guys. But it's got to happen, though. You can't have talented players sitting on the sidelines. We're not going to win games that way. Coach Ellis can talk about that. You got to have your best 11 on the field at all times, or as many times as we can have them. We got to have them out there. Whether we create a new defense or whatever it is, I got to have them. And I got to have them doing what they do best all the time. And I got to have them buy into that. That's what worries me about LSU. But I saw what they did in the transfer portal. Brian Kelly's a great coach, but he's got to win game one, and he's got to get all these guys to buy in. And anytime I see a desperate coach do something like this, it usually works out in their favor. For him to go put up $1 million of his own dollars to go get some guys, I'm not mad at it. After that, I got Georgia, and I really like Georgia. How can anybody hate on anything Kirby Smart's done for Georgia? It only makes me concerned because of what I've seen since I've been covering the SEC since 2020, where Georgia was freaking loaded to the teeth in defense. You had Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith. You can go down the line with what's the one?
Nakobe Dean was a hell of a linebacker. Yeah,
Nakobe Dean. The one at
Jalen Carter.
Right now, Jalen Carter. Thank you. Yeah. And so you go down the list. You had how many first round guys did they have? And so the list has just continued to go since 2020. This is what they've had. And it's not a really knock on Georgia as much as just it's a product of the college football space right now where you just can't stack talent like that. You can't stack them. And so they lost 6 or 7 big-time starters off of this defense of last year, where they already were a little bit thinner than the year before. And they were thinner last year or the year before that than they were the year before that. And so you're just getting a little bit thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. And so I think they naturally will be good defensively, like Nick Saban's defenses were always good, but not the top. And so because of that, that puts a little bit more pressure on your offense. And I don't know offensively if Georgia continues to keep up with that. They still got to get some more explosive playmakers. And the quarterback has to play up to par this year. And the O-line's got to protect them. And they got to be smart with it that way. So I think Georgia's going to be on that third, fourth team in the SEC. I was really looking forward to seeing what Tennessee was going to do this year.
Yeah.
But them losing the quarterback makes me a little bit concerned. I watched film on the App State quarterback transfer. I don't like that he turns the football over. I don't like that. He turns the football over. You know, even on his best game statistically, it was only like one interception, but he had like two other fumbles that they just recovered. So, you know, those are the hidden stats that nobody talks about. But if you actually watch the tape, you're concerned. And so that makes me a little bit more concerned with what Tennessee is going to be this year. South Carolina is a team that has a really, really good quarterback, but they lost a ton of talent defensively. So they'll be that team that's going to be teetering. I don't know if they'll be better than they were last year, but they could easily get 7 wins this year. Auburn's a team who I think is going to be better this year. 7, 8 wins is going to be a really solid year for Auburn. I think they get to that number. And it'd be interesting if they get above 8. I mean, wow, I don't see that happening, but I think that they could get to 8. And then the other team I'd like to talk about is probably Florida. Florida has the quarterback in DJ Lagway that literally makes everybody on their roster better. It's just a word called hope. You know, I've only been around a couple of different guys that had that ability. Cam Newton is one of them, where you just insert him on any roster and everybody plays better. Offense, defense, special teams. I don't know why, but it happens. And that's what I saw out of Florida last year. The moment this kid went in the game, everything was different. Guys were more open. Just everything felt different. Defensively, they played harder. So I think Florida is going to be another one of those teams that, you know, we all thought they may get 4 wins last year. I think they're going to be around 7 or 8 again this year. And it's all because hopefully they can keep this quarterback healthy. And if they do that, they got a chance.
Unbelievable breakdowns. Coach, what Roman just said, and I agree with him about Lagway. He is a difference maker. There's just certain people that have that charisma, and they make everybody around them dig inside and find things they never knew. But you want to follow up on what Roman just said, because that's hot stuff.
Roman, I thought you said you don't know anybody's roster.
Hot takes by Rob Browne. Hot takes. Monday.
I mean,
hot
Roman.
takes with Rob.
Hell.
It's getting weird, folks.
I'm just saying, I'd like to hear
Rob Browne.
I'd like to hear Roman not know something. I mean, my God, that was a dissertation like a professor at the Brookings Institution. My God.
You just wrote
Hot
Street and
takes
Smith
from Rob
in
Browne.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I
show's
tell you,
going
like
south.
I said in the first time, I don't know these rosters like these players like Roman does. But I think that you've got Texas and Georgia and maybe I'd say Alabama, and some of these guys. I mean, you got to beat them before you can say, well, they're not going to make it to the top.
Yeah,
I think those guys have the talent and they got the history. There's some teams like Florida. And I think Ole Miss and some of those, South Carolina maybe, they're going to have enough talent and 2 or 3 great individual players. They may ruin somebody's season this year or end up in that championship game. I don't know. I think he's exactly right about stacking talent. Those days are over. Occasionally, I guess, if somebody brings in a tremendous portal and some freshmen come in at the same time, you may have more than 3 or 4 defensive linemen that can be premier. It just doesn't happen much anymore with the portal and them being able to go somewhere else and play immediately. To me, it's very hard to predict these things as much as it was 6 or 8 years ago. But I think you always start with who's got a returning, successful, proven quarterback. And then if they've got reasonable good talent around them on that side of the ball. My concern about Georgia is I don't know what's the little quarterback's name?
Gunnar Stockton.
Stockton. I don't know what his ceiling is, and I don't think we've seen enough of him for anybody to say he can do this. He's not done anything yet of that elite nature, but I do think they've got a better receiving core and probably made a little better up front this year, and that could help him. Bobo, I think, is one of the best in the business, and I think he's coached some guys like Stockton, who were not elite quarterbacks, but they were leaders and they were talented and they could get it done their own way. So I think they'll still be in the thick of it. But it's hard to say with Texas, with all the talent and Arch Manning, who I think I don't know why he didn't play more already, but that was a unique situation out there with the quarterback thing. So I'm not going to question who played and why not. But I mean, I just think you got to put Texas up there at the beginning, up at the top. And I think Alabama's going to probably be better because they're going to be transitioned into the new staff, the new system, the new philosophy. The way Coach Saban, he was there for so long, and there's so much about his process. You take some kids and change them, and in 6 months they got to do it a different way. I just don't think they ever were really on top of their game. They didn't play up to the talent level, and maybe had 2 or 3 games where they beat themselves. Yep. And that was not typical Alabama. And I think they will be. But I think the team that's got the chance to be the dark horse and win it is Florida. Because of Lagway. They keep him healthy. I think Billy has silently put together a really good roster down there, and Lagway is probably the key.
Mm-hmm. He's most definitely the key. I agree. Keeping him healthy is going to be the biggest thing. Hey, outside the SEC, real quick, Roman, first, Clemson. A lot of people talking about these guys next year. Top 1 or 2 teams outside the SEC you feel is really going to be hot next year.
Deservedly so. Clemson, Dabo ain't going nowhere. As much as we want to kick him and say is this, he's slowly turning a new leaf. He's actually touched into the portal a little bit. And Clemson they got to have a really good defensive line, and they got the quarterback. And they had 2 freshman wide receivers step up in a big way last year. These guys are going to be better. They're going to be coming into it with more experience. They went out there and got more players. Clemson's going to be really good. And they're also in the ACC, where I don't see anybody else competing with them right now. And so that's going to matter. I think when and where you play teams ultimately matters so much in college football. That's why Coach Ellis is not wrong about mentioning Georgia again, because all Georgia's technically hard games are in Athens. So, that matters for them. They play Texas at home. They got Alabama at home. They got Florida. I know it's in Jacksonville, but I think they had Georgia Tech at home this year. So all these games where you think you don't know, Georgia has it at home. So it'd be really, really interesting. I don't think they've lost in Athens in years.
How do you feel about that schedule for Georgia next year? We were talking to a couple people. That's pretty softball.
Look, there is no softball. Yeah. I mean, in football of SEC, there is no softball.
It's compared to other maybe SEC schools, and look at Florida's schedule again this year. I mean,
well, the thing is it's the same schedule was last year, just flipped. So we got to wait till next year to see when you actually get some things mixed up. It doesn't really, the one that was supposed to be tough got a lot easier because Nico Iamaleava transferred. That was going to be the first kickoff game in the SEC. Week 3 at Tennessee, at Neyland. That was going to be, come on. That was going to be the one.
Yeah, that's the one.
But it just doesn't give me the same oomph because Nico left. And so now it's we're going to have to see about it. Yeah. And Georgia feels really good about that now compared to where they were, just 2 months ago. So, that's going to be – I like Clemson outside of the SEC. And, of course, Ohio State's not going anywhere. No. It will be very interesting to see how Oregon and Dan Lanning continue to build up that roster and what they're doing at Oregon. Because what nobody's talking about is how Uncle Phil Knight, has told him, I want to touch a national championship before I leave this earth. And so I don't care what it costs. And so Oregon is cutting the checks. And so they're getting more people to go all the way out to Eugene when normally we ain't going all the way out there. Yeah. But we're going. We're going to have all the cool uniforms, and Uncle Phil's going to cut the checks. And Oregon is doing a great thing for them. But it's going to come down to, can Dan Lanning win the game that he's not supposed to? He still has never won a game as a head coach that he hadn't supposed to win yet. Yeah. And so that at some point, you got to win the game. Not the one at home, no, you got to go out there and beat somebody you ain't supposed to beat. And then that's when you just go up another level right there. And so for me, that's what I'm concerned with about Dan Lanning and Oregon. But they're another team who ain't going nowhere. Yeah. So Ohio State, Oregon, Clemson, these teams are going to be around for quite some time right now.
Yeah, we got to about wrap up, and this is great stuff. Coach Ellis Johnson, Roman Harper, Brendan Martin, incredible questions. This is the way to start off your Monday's my favorite day of the week, man.
Oh, stop.
I love
God, I'm wearing the same shirt I went out in last night, Rob. It's not my favorite day of the week, okay?
Well,
sorry, everybody who hung out with me
let me
last
tell you
night.
what,
Same shirt. It's
but
cool.
this is
Same
fun.
guy.
This has been a lot of learning, and I'm going to let y'all go. I want to thank you and Coach both for your time, and this is awesome. And here it is, June 2nd. This is why I love doing this show, because we're 6 weeks from Media Days, and Brendan and I will be in Atlanta. And Brendan, you'll get to meet Roman in person. Roman, you'd still look like you could suit up and play. And every time I talk to a Saints fan, they go, tell Roman Harper that we still love him, that you brought so much joy. At last check, 16 years later, they're still celebrating in the French Quarter. So
if they get any chance to celebrate, we're gonna do it all back over again. Like it's okay.
I love New Orleans. Can I hang out with Roman in New Orleans? Like, that's where I want to go.
That's right. Well, 2 weeks from today, you'll be in Memphis, man. So, Roman, I'm going to let you go and let us know about Read and React, because it's the best show. If you want to learn about football, you and Cole Kubelik and Coach Johnson, we'll see y'all next week. I got to say something about our sponsors. Y'all have a great day again.
Thanks,
Always
Roman.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys soon. You guys
thank you, Coach Ellis, man. Hey, I appreciate you, because you're the one that first called me from Alabama. First offer that I received in high school is from you. So I haven't really gotten to talk to you since then. So, man, it's great seeing you again.
Roman, I'm trying
Coach Cheese is right over there in Shelby, North Carolina now.
I
got to reach out to him. I'll reach out to him. Thank you.
Roman, by the way, I'm trying to get Coach Ellis Johnson's new nickname to stick, which is Tom Cruise, because he's Hollywood. He's the best looking guy ever. Like, he comes in, he has like, look, Hollywood's here, Tom Cruise. So every day we get Tom Cruise is here.
Roman, don't hire these guys as agents. They've been telling me that.
No, you don't want to hire us for anything.
I haven't had a single call.
No, we're awful.
All right, we'll get the word out. I'll see y'all.
Be good.
Thank you. You bet. Y'all too. Let me say something about our sponsors. We got to say something about, we got a lot of them, and we're blessed to have them all. Winter Timber Outdoors in Athens, Alabama, open every day of the week, building a 13,000 square foot store in Auburn. Opens up the end of July, early August. All your hunting and outdoor needs have got you covered at Winter Timber. Also, Landers Ford, Memphis.com, located Poplar and Houston Levee. That's where Collierville and Memphis come together. But if you're watching this show, hit that QR code, talk to the manager out there, sales manager, Brad Bellamy.
Brad Bellamy. He's going to give me a sweet new ride.
Yeah, and they've got all the cars, trucks, SUVs, a giant lot to walk on out there. Service department will pick you up, provide round-trip transportation to and from anytime you need help. The 25 Expeditions are in, the Broncos, all the F-150s. Love what those people do. They're all over the Mid-South. They will deliver a car anywhere. If you want to buy one, get online and call them. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the GM. Also, down the street from Hewlett and Dunn, Boot and Clothing Company, the best looking selection of boots for men and women, and even kids' boots you will find anywhere. Anderson Bean, Olathe, they've got them all covered, and they've also got the Filson. Man, they got some awesome.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come down. I'm going to go duck hunting. I'm going to Hewlett and Dunn.
Oh,
I'm going to get a new car over at Landers, and I'm going to go over to Bim Bam and get me the M16.
Well, yeah, that M16 breakfast at Bim Bam in Oxford, Mississippi. It's awesome. Hewlett and Dunn open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m., 6 p.m. Charles Hall, the staff out there, J.M. Huffman, Raven, his wife Laura, Squidward, Lydia, everybody, they will get you suited up. Hey, most often we see the face, at least among us. We can't all do everything, but we can all do something. A smile, a good word, and just a pat on the back. Get people going. Thanks for watching. Watch this channel every day. We'll see you tonight.
See you at the Buddy Martin Show.
9 p.m. Eastern, right here on this here channel. Thank you, Brendan. Right. Great job.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night, John Boy.